July, there's stuff to be harvested. So this is about the 4th bowl of strawberries and pineberries. So we're doing not bad. Obviously, it's not the harvest we were getting from the big, huge bed, but we weren't expecting that this year. But talking about this year, one of the things I keep getting asked about is these. It's the runners. And that will probably answer your question, because you guys are asking, do you leave them on? Do you cut them off? And the answer is, in all honesty, up to you. I'm cutting them off because I'm not interested in growing any plants this year. So I'm cutting them off. In a couple of years, however, I'll leave them and I'll actually start bringing them on so that I can get some new plants. Because, you know, you want to refresh your strawberry plants every 3 years or so. If you're thinking of doing that, up on the left and in the description, I'll put links to the 2 videos where I talk about how you use the strawberry runners to get new plants. But in the meantime, I'm cutting them all off. Think of it like this. For the mother plant to put out a runner that hits the soil and the little ends of it put down roots and starts to grow a baby plant, it's still attached to the mother. So think of these runners a bit like an umbilical cord. So until it's ready to basically shoot out on its own like a 19-year-old, it's relying on the mother for its energy, its food, all of that kind of stuff. Cut the runners off and the mother plant can use all of its energy on itself to make it a nice, healthy, strong plant. And if it's fruiting, to focus on the fruiting. It's that simple, really. There's no hard and fast rules. And I know people like to get all cut up in all the, you know, this book says that, this person says that, do I have to do this? It's your garden. You know what? Cut some runners off. See what happens. Leave some, let them take. See what happens. Best way to learn. The pineberries then. These were a bit of fun this year. So the pineberries are the little white ones instead of red ones. And apparently when I got these plants, I told you that apparently they taste like pineapple. So an update on those then. We love them. They do. That first mouthful, you do get that hint. But because we know, we're like, oh yeah, that's that pineapple hit. And then it's just super sweet, super tasty. We don't get a lot of them and they're quite small, but they're worth it. So we're definitely doing these again. Oh, we love them. Pea and beans. So again, new this year. We have grown peas and beans before. We haven't grown peas for a few years now because the last time we did, we got ravished by the pea moth and it really put us off. It was horrible. So I got everything going a bit earlier this year so that the peas had finished flowering by about early June. Hopefully that'll sort things. It's so far so good. Beans. Now, I've grown dwarf beans because in previous years when we first started in this garden, I tried to grow green beans because we eat a lot of green beans and I have never had any luck with them. So this year is a massive romping success for us. I'm so chuffed. I miscalculated how tall they were going to get. So I should have had another 2 or 3 foot of canes up there at least, I think. But, you know, we'll do our best. But we're just starting now to get some tiny little beans forming. So I'm quite excited. So I'll keep you guys up to date on those. But so far so good. It's looking fantastic. The plants look really healthy. They're all putting on loads and loads of vines. So loads of flowers are coming up and the flowers are gorgeous. The peas, this is Kelvindon. Now I'll get it wrong because Kelvin's a place in Scotland. Kelvindon Wonder peas, okay? These have been recommended. Loads of folk in this area grow them and say they grow really well here, and they were right. We've already had about 4 or 5 big bowlfuls this size of peas, and basically we've been eating them every time we're in the garden. We just take some and eat them, and we've been eating them as like big bowls full for dinner as well. There's peas going in all sorts that we don't normally put peas in. So yeah, really, really chuffed. It is a bit dense here. I probably planted too many plants because I'm actually struggling to get to some of the peas. So one for next year to remember. Enjoying the video? Well, remember, hit that subscribe button and then that little bell. If you click all notifications, you'll get a wee alert on your phone every time I post a video. That way you don't miss out. Now, the courgettes have not been as prolific this year yet. Normally by this time of year, we're harvesting loads of massive courgettes. Not quite yet, but we're starting to get some nice, decent-sized little ones. If you remember last July, I told you not to let them get massive before you harvest them. They taste much better when they're smaller. So I'm going to harvest a few for dinner tonight at this size. Something else I'm going to show you, so I'm going to pull you in. Courgettes are seriously thirsty and hungry plants. So if you're not certain in the nutrition in your soil, then you need to make sure you're feeding them as well as watering them. I've got plant pots at the base of all the plants that I can just fill with water and feed. Especially handy because I've also got lettuce and pak choi and radishes and stuff, and I don't necessarily want to be giving them the same feed I give the courgettes because they're leafy crops, so they want nitrogen. Okay, this bed is where we get interesting. So you already know the whole saga of the carrots, and if you don't, video up on the top left and I'll put it in the description below, but go and have a watch. But basically the carrots, I didn't look after them. Basically, I totally abandoned them and they went feral. So there's no carrots in this bed at the minute. I've still got garlic here, as you can see, which for some of you guys might be a bit confusing because I know a lot of folk have pulled their garlic. Mine is not ready to be pulled yet. It's a porcelain hardneck variety called Beetroot, and it probably won't be pulled until the end of this month. But also quite a few folk who grow garlic have been telling me that it's quite small compared to what they were expecting. So we're just going to have to wait and see. It's the first time I've grown garlic in about 6 or 7 years, so it's quite exciting. But what got me with these guys this year, and that's it, I'm going to go back to growing garlic, is the scapes. I've never had scapes before. They were awesome. So I kind of want to grow it just for the scapes. Yeah. The other thing in this bed is a beetroot. Beetroot is normally massive in terms of harvesting in July. Mine's been really behind this year. Sucky cold spring, didn't really come on as fast as it could. Then the dry spell and I didn't water it properly. Just issues, so I'm a bit behind. So, I suppose a good thing, no huge big cricket ball size things, these nice little ones, golf ball size-ish, they're really sweet and really tasty. So it's not actually a bad thing. Favourite recipe for these is beetroot tart tatin. So last week I was telling you that although you may not realise it, this is kind of the cusp in the season where temperatures are going to start dropping a little bit. It's going to be cooler in the evenings. Some of the plants that would have bolted if you'd sown them before now will do lots better. So things like your pak choi. So you saw me last week, I sowed pak choi, radishes and some little gem lettuce. I'm going to keep that going, but I've also got this space here. Garlic. This is probably going to come out in the next couple of weeks. That gives me this space where I can put another lot of beetroot in because it's warm enough. It's like second spring. They'll take really quickly and they'll keep going and they'll start giving me crops through autumn. So you can keep your garden going that way. It doesn't have to stop when the good weather stops. of course, there's the greenhouse. So tomatoes for me have been ripe for July, so maybe 2 and a bit months now I've been picking tomatoes. The good thing about that is, well, it's awesome. Fresh tomatoes end of May through June is brilliant. Downside, if you're growing indeterminate or cordon type tomatoes, they aren't infinite. They will stop producing at some point. And because I started getting tomatoes early, they're going to stop producing. So something I've learned for this year is I'm not going to sow all of my tomatoes at the same time. I will have some early next year, but I'm going to leave some back and sow them later as well, so that I've got a crop going for a lot longer. My determinate tomatoes, however, the bush tomatoes, so I've got these Roma, they will keep going for a good while yet, because they have multiple stems to grow on. Handy ones then, all you guys who are new to growing tomatoes, I'll put up on the left and I'll put down below handy videos. So number 1, if you're growing your tomatoes in the greenhouse, and this goes for things like peppers as well, you'll have less pollinators in your greenhouse than you would have in the garden. And things need to be pollinated, so you sometimes have to help nature along and pollinate by hand. So I've got a video that teaches you all about that, because you do it in different ways. And like I say, left and down below, it's been linked. So when you finish today, go back and watch that. It is very useful. The other thing is about ripening, because I keep getting asked about why my tomatoes aren't ripe yet. Your tomatoes will ripen because of the temperature. They need to sit at a set temperature for a period of time to ripen. It's roughly, I think it's about 20 C they like. Now, the thing is, for me, last year I did a video about this, because you can force them to ripen. And towards the end of the season for us here in Scotland, we struggle to get things to ripen because we don't get the temperatures over consistent periods. So you can force it, but usually what you'll find is if you force it, you lose out a little bit in flavour. So it's swings and roundabouts. It's why supermarket tomatoes never taste as good as homegrown ones, because a lot of those are forced to ripen, even the ones that say on the vine. So they always taste just that little bit bland compared to homegrown. But speaking of bland, this year I have changed my tomatoes that I grow for you guys. We spoke about this. So I'm growing Sungold and I'm growing Gardener's Delight, because it's what a lot of new gardeners grow. And we thought it would be handy for me to grow those along with you guys. So my thoughts. Sungold taste fantastic. I'm going to keep them now as a standard. I'm going to grow them every year. Gardener's Delight, I am supremely disappointed. Not in the cropping, they've given me loads of tomatoes, but in all honesty, I don't think it's worth it. They just don't taste anything special. They taste like the aforementioned supermarket tomatoes. Disappointed. The other thing in here, of course, is the peppers. Now, the eagle-eyed amongst you will notice I have moved my peppers and I've got shading in the greenhouse. I'll tell you about that in another video, because there's a whole story behind it. But Lorna and Baron, thank you guys. You two are responsible for this. So when I do this next video, it is going out to you. But anyways, I have had so many peppers from my pepper plant. So these are King of the North. It's a variety that apparently does really well in slightly cooler climates, like the UK. So I'm growing it for the first time this year, giving it a try, and I am blown away by how successful it's been. All 5 of the plants were seriously bushy and full of fruit, to the point where 2 of the plants actually just couldn't cope with the weight of the fruit anymore. And even though I've got them all staked and tied, they just snapped at any point that didn't have support because of the weight of the fruit. To give you an idea, the fruit is all huge. None of it is ripe yet. Well, none of it is red yet. Obviously, you can eat peppers at different stages of ripeness. colour, but they taste better, I find, when they're properly ripe. It will be a while yet, just because they're such big fruit, they take longer to ripen, but we are already eating them as green peppers. They are just astonishingly good. So King of the North is staying. This will now be my staple pepper that I grow every year. So I've got my little basket of goodies for dessert and dinner. I'm heading back in then, because it is blooming hot out here today. See you guys.